Evening and greetings from Riga in Latvia. Welcome to today's live stream of me, Connor. If you're new to my live streams, to my channel, to my content, I am originally from Ireland and I am based in a region I call New Europe, just basically the region between Germany and Russia. So here are the Baltic states, for example, Poland, Moldova, Ukraine. Sometimes I'm out in Kazakhstan. Maybe I'm even going to go to places like Georgia and the Caucasus in the future at some point. And I basically help high-level guys with living their best life, living like I guess in the past, a czar in this region. Living and basically having a rock star lifestyle here in this region. The countries that I choose as my favorites, which I dub emerging Europe, because also these countries are on the way up economically in general. So welcome to tonight's live stream, or this evening's live stream. It's going to be a pretty short one compared to the others over the last 2 weeks, because I'm only going to focus on one particular point, which is what kind of foreign guys are dating the 9s and 10s, the uber beautiful here in this region. The Baltics actually is the 3 Baltic states, and actually you could say the Baltics also, we can include Sweden for sure. In this, it is the region with the highest number of models per capita in the world. I mean catwalk models. So they are normally tall, slim. Maybe that's not to your particular preference. Maybe you're into thicker women, then this mightn't be the region for you, especially if you don't like tall girls, because there are a lot of tall people, like guys and girls are very tall around here. But yeah, in general, this is the region where you probably find the most per capita in the world. And I will reflect a little bit on what I've seen, especially over the last, 2 years at this point, of going between the different countries. I also threw in Romania in the title. I will comment on it briefly. And I left out Prague and Czechia for the purposes of this one, because I haven't spent enough time there in the last couple of years to comment on it, even though I am planning at some point to bring clients to Prague. So there are a lot of links down below in the description to this video. If you're thinking of moving to this region, maybe you're thinking of moving to Poland, maybe you're thinking of moving to Moldova, maybe you're thinking of moving to Ukraine in spite of the Russo-Ukrainian war, maybe to here in the Baltics, maybe to Kazakhstan. I have a series of playlists down below. Also, I have some guides that will help you with traveling as safe as possible to Ukraine if you happen to be coming, or to Moldova. And what is very valuable there is the hospitality part. So they are down below in the description. You can go and buy them if you are heading that way. And as you'll see as we go through this live stream, if I give all the information, the advice here, but really it comes down to implementation afterwards. If you are planning to come to this region, and probably if you are a high-level guy yourself, you probably don't want to be wasting lots of time and making the mistakes that I guess in part I've made for you already. And every situation is specific. I actually had a client write me yesterday who was with me in Kharkiv a couple of years ago, and he's thinking of coming back to the region in general, not to Ukraine, but to an alternative. And yeah, it's just you have to drill down to figure out which is going to be the best fit for him, because it's just really specific nowadays. It used to be easier for me to just say come to Belarus or come to Ukraine back in the day in 2018 and 2019 when I started this channel. So there are a few options down below. You can go and invest in a consulting call with me, and or you can apply for my in-person experience. It's actually why I've been in the Baltics for the last few weeks. I've been here with clients, and we have done many weekends, and I've actually been doing a bit of a recce, as we say in motor racing speak parlance of motorsport, which is basically reconnaissance. I was up in Tallinn, and I've been in Lithuania, Kaunas and Vilnius, and here in Riga, the capital of Latvia. So down below is a link to the Insiders Hour experience, and that will be us living an unforgettable up to a week together in a city in this region, where basically you'll get to tap into my encyclopedic knowledge, and you'll party like a rock star, basically. Meet the uber beautiful, meet the 9s and 10s, because we definitely met a fair few 9s and 10s. There was definitely one girl that should be a top model who was out socializing last night, and in our entourage briefly by the end, but we may even meet up again this evening. So this live stream is inspired by another YouTuber, Joshua Hall. I'll give him a shout out since he inspired it for me. He was reflecting on his time in Warsaw and what kind of women he saw most foreigners being with, and it wasn't very flattering. It matches what I've seen in being in Warsaw in particular, but also in the general region. So shout out to Joshua. He does a little bit more global than I do. I basically am the guy who focuses on this region in general. So if you are thinking of coming here, I mean, maybe at some point I'm going to go to some other countries outside, like Brazil. I love Brazil, but for now, this is what my content is focused on, and he is doing it. I think he's over in Thailand now already, so he'll give you that perspective there and probably a bit more global. So he's also worth checking out since he inspired me tonight in particular. The countries I'm going to look at, let's start with Poland, since that is the one that a lot of guys go to, and in this region who are making content about dating. It seems that well, maybe I can guess the reason. There's a war in Ukraine, so the recent Ukraine war, a lot of guys who are living a life that was location independent, maybe doing something online. A lot of them were hanging out in Kyiv because, well, definitely there are a lot of beautiful women in Ukraine, and now with the Russo-Ukrainian war, they're not based there, so I think that a lot of them just went to Warsaw, and they do the day game malarkey, for example, which obviously I critique here because I don't think it's a good investment of your time. And as Josh also pointed out, the day gamers are not really they're not stopping and pestering the really beautiful. They're going to going for a level below, and I've actually had day gamers come up to me who recognize me from the channel and tell me about their experiences, and yeah, very low return on the investment time they put into it. But a lot of the guys who coach that, they base themselves at least part of the year in Warsaw, and they talk it up as a place. Also, there are some other kind of, I guess, lifestyle / dating coaches, and they hang out a lot, and they talk about Warsaw in glowing terms as if it's like shooting fish in a barrel, and, you know, metaphorically speaking, in terms of the dating scene. But I am very skeptical that they are having that kind of success, having been there myself. So what did I see? It's pretty much what Josh actually said in his video recently. I saw mainly foreign guys, and I've said it here, and I got some guys in the comments very upset. If you're new here, I'm just going to give a presentation, and you can write your comments and questions just down below there in the comment section. I'll come to it after I give my presentation. Not going to be too long today, but basically I've only seen really foreigners. And when I say foreigners, I mean guys who might even be living there. They're not necessarily a tourist, and they are normally don't speak Polish, right? That's very rare that any foreigners, even if they live for years, that they learn Polish. I would encourage you to do that. I call it Connor's Law. It's going to probably double your dating. But anyways, I personally, without speaking Polish and without having very high level local social circles, so the elite level Polish guys be hanging out with, I've only seen foreigners with 4 and below out of 10, if we use that kind of crude elementary scale in terms of beauty, which is what those guys are hardwired to recognize. First, the women's not the only thing, obviously, we then consider when we're looking, especially for longer term dating. But I just haven't seen it. Now, I know there are guys who are doing better than that, who are foreigners, because one of them, I even follow him online a little bit. And but he looks like a male model. He's over 6 foot tall, and he wouldn't look out of place on the silver screen. He's also apparently quite wealthy and lives in a very prestigious address, at a very prestigious address in Warsaw. So that's kind of the point. Unless you look like a model, you are super wealthy or famous, it's probably going to be pretty hard to date the 9s and 10s who are Polish in Poland, without speaking the language and local social circle. They're definitely going to help a lot, and that can maybe compensate enough to get you to that level. But I just haven't seen it in person. So I just see most of the guys with women who are not very attractive. And I think that's my issue with a lot of the talking up of Warsaw as a place to go if you're a foreign guy. I just don't see guys who are not, well presentable, put together, doing well, and have those extra things, dating the super beautiful. Now they might be happy with a 4, maybe back home, especially the Asian Americans who talk it up and say that they, white girls have a bit of a fetish, is what it is, and they can't get any white girls at home. Then I guess a girl who's a 3 or 4 is a big thing for them. But in general, that's what I see. And when I've been there with clients in general, I can say very clearly that the guys who already had abundance did very well, even in Warsaw, but they did well everywhere. And the guys who had who had a scarcity mindset, yeah, I don't know if they were in Warsaw, they would do better than back home, to be frank. One of my clients who actually did pretty well in the dating scene in Warsaw, but doesn't want to go back there, he said, yeah, the dating was no easier than in the US for him. And he was a guy who's probably taller than me, I would say better looking than me, wealthier than me. He's not a weirdo or anything. He's pretty well socially calibrated. Yeah, and I guess he was able to do better than before, but he was with your Irish boy, the insider. So that also definitely added to it. But like he thought it was no easier than dating back in the States. So that's what I've seen with clients. And I think that's the main dichotomy for the region. I think probably Warsaw is maybe along with Bucharest, we're going to split them in the same category in Romania. They're probably the most difficult if you go and you don't have local connections and you don't speak the language. And the guys who look like a model are multimillionaires. Like many of my clients are deca and centimillionaires. Maybe they're not famous, okay, but if you're not doing very well at home, like you're not getting, I don't know, over a 5 at home, or you don't have any dating options, I think Warsaw is really not the spot for you. And really, I see it with guys who have abundance versus scarcity. I think the guys who have abundance, and this is also one thing that Josh pointed out, which I'll give him credit for, that I'm not sure if I expressed it as eloquently as he did. It's like the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. Like the guys who are already doing well back home, they will possibly do even better in Warsaw, but they'll definitely do better in the countries that, the other countries in the region. And that's been the experience with my clients here in the Baltics, and in, over the summer I brought clients to Ukraine in spite of the war, and to Moldova, and soon going back to Kazakhstan. I would say in all of those, yeah, the guys definitely do better, but they are guys that are already doing pretty well. So that is kind of the main point I want to get across, and that's something that for me, it's just so visible that you're over that threshold, you have an abundance, you're not a desperate dating desperado, going all in to try and get some chicks because you can't get them back home. Then you can do very well here, and I try to even at this point screen for that in my in-person experiences. It's just a lot more enjoyable for me. I'm going to have a client who is going to enjoy it more here. He's better fit, and yeah, even though that's against my own business interest, obviously if I took everybody, no matter how bad their situation was on the dating scene, it's not personal criticism in terms of character, but it's just, it is what it is. Dating is more or less like a market, and yeah, if I took all those guys, I guess then I'd be a lot wealthier, but then they wouldn't succeed, or they would maybe do a little bit better. So what I see is that the guys have abundance, they do even better here than they would back home, but the guys who have got scarcity may even do worse than back in the States if we're comparing with Warsaw. I think the other cities that I'm going to go into, and Bucharest, although I had one client who actually did okay in Bucharest, right? Yeah, he did. He didn't do so well in Warsaw, and he was very disappointed with that. So let me go into their cities pretty quickly, and I'll get to your comments and your questions. And I don't want to stay too long on this live stream. So I said Bucharest. I think Bucharest, without speaking Romanian, it's probably a little less of an issue than in Warsaw. Like if you don't speak Polish, even though the level of English, by the way, in Poland and Romania is really good. So it's a little bit of, it's maybe a little bit counterintuitive, because I guess, well, you don't need to learn Polish because, well, everybody speaks good English who's young. The issue is not communication, it's more social. I mean, maybe it's a little bit of social status even, that local women and probably local guys as well, if you're speaking in English, they just take you, they put you in kind of a tourist box, And for most women in Poland, unless you are like look like a male model or you're famous or something, they're probably not looking for a tourist in terms of a relationship. If they got lots of options, obviously, if they got less options, then probably they'll even target tourists because they wanna get some guys, right? The women that have less are less desired, let's say locally, but the ones that are the 9s and 10s or even the 8s, 7s, what I see in Warsaw, they will probably screen out initially a lot of guys unless they have who are speaking to them in English. I found it a little bit similar in Romania, but not as extreme. I just think in general that the level of beauty maybe for 9s and 10s in Romania is not the same as the countries around it. It's a little bit lower in my experience, although I have a client who's been based in Bucharest, and he said the younger generation, kind of college age, they are taller and better looking than the previous generation in his experience of being there in his estimation. So maybe that's a good sign for the future of Romanian beauty and modeling and stuff. We'll have to see. My experience being there was that, I think I didn't see so many foreigners do very well. There is a guy who live streams, or he doesn't live stream, he lives there and now he's promoting a lot, which is fine. I mean, I'm kind of happy he promotes Romania and the countries in the region, but he makes it sound so easy. But he's actually born in Romania, speaks fluent Romanian, obviously, and he understands the culture because he's Romanian. He's just lived in the West, and he reacted to one of my videos before. That's why I kind of pay attention to his channel a little bit more than I would otherwise. But it just makes no sense to me. He's saying, you don't need to speak English, but or say you can just speak English, you don't need to speak Romanian. But how would he really know? He speaks Romanian. So I got some good feedback from my client who's based there, and he said the foreign guys who are starting to show up, a lot of them have this very off image of Romania. They think it's going to be super easy. They think the women are all very religious or something, all this kind of they're more conservative obviously than in the US, but it's not like it's not like Armenia, like they're maybe they're not, are they that religious? They're a bit more religious in say the Caucasus region than they're going to be in Romania in my experience. Anyways, that's about Romania. So I don't really see foreign guys doing super good there. I think it's a tougher dating market, and that seems to correlate with my own experience, especially back in the day in Romania, and also with my clients' experience here. Definitely there is a lot of tall, beautiful girls. Again, as I said in the last live stream, if you don't like tall girls, or probably maybe because you might be a little bit below average in height. I'm below average height here in the Baltics for sure. I'm 178, so about 5'10", and I'm a little bit below, maybe an inch or so maybe 2 or 3 centimeters below the average height. And I happen to like tall girls though, so I'm not complaining. But I guess if you were under like 170, then I guess I can't remember what that is is that 5'7", 5'6", around that. It might be a bit of a challenge here because there are a lot of tall guys who are local guys, obviously, and the girls are quite tall. So normal rule of thumb is that it's never really really that big an issue unless you are shorter than the girl. Then biologically, I think there's just on average women are going to be, as a generalization, they're probably going to be less interested. See it as a minus. But you will have competition from tall guys. Here, let me just think of foreigners. Have I seen many foreigners? I think most foreigners who come here, like this region used to have a reputation for a lot of sex tourism because it was cheaper, women were attractive. The price level is only 15 to 25% lower than a comparable city in, say, the UK or Germany or France, just ballpark the US. So it's not super cheap. There is a difference, but it's not super cheap. And you don't see those kind of like Irish and British stag partiers coming for the weekend as much. You do see some. And the only foreign guys, I've met foreign guys here who were with quite attractive women, but one he'd actually met her in the UK, not here. And they were living there together, but very nice looking. And other guys were guys who lived here, and they speak at a minimum Russian, if not Latvian. Russian is still widely spoken in, say, Tallinn and in Riga, less so in Lithuania. So I didn't see, it's not like you see a weekend warrior come in for the weekend and then he's cleaning up with the models here. just trying to think in Tallinn, so I hung out. But you know, I met a guy very graciously, gave me a lot of intel there, who was watching the live stream last week, or 2 weeks ago. And yeah, but he lives in Estonia, so he was actually dating someone from another country at this point. Yeah, just I'm thinking in Lithuania. Foreign guys who were in on a trip. Didn't see anyone with over, let's say, 6 out of 10. One exception, I really remember. There was what we can call a Chang, an Asian guy. He was tall, very good looking, in shape. He may even have been an Asian model, to be frank. He was at least 6 foot tall. Not the same guy I'm referring to in Warsaw. And yeah, he was with a really, really super pretty Lithuanian. Definitely, if she wasn't modeling, she could model. I tried to take a clip to send to my Asian American client, but I didn't. It was too dark. Just to troll him a little bit and say, hey, the Changs are already here, man, in Lithuania, and they're cleaning up. But you gotta be 6 foot tall and you know, in extremely good shape and handsome, because he was definitely a good-looking fella. In my estimation, he looked good, well dressed, everything. So there, and he was speaking in English. So not sure if he was living there or not. I didn't get to speak to him. I probably should have. But they were walking along, so you know, it's a bit awkward to stop them, figure out more of their story. So there you go. So there is one, but again, he didn't look out of place with her. Like the guy looked, like he was probably, in terms of looks, very, very good looking. Not sure obviously about his status or his finances, but you know, he didn't look like he was struggling or anything. So there you go. That's an exception. I've only seen one with a really pretty girl who may have been a tourist or just, you know, living briefly and using English. Yeah. My clients who I've brought to here, who have abundance and we're doing well back home, all live very well. Yeah, because there's just so many really, really beautiful women. And yeah, which are Irish Boy, the insider for the region, you know, and the Zara experience. Yeah, I know where to go, where to meet them, and definitely very good feedback on our time here. So let me skip on to Moldova. Absolutely see no guys who show up as weekend warriors and don't speak any Romanian or Russian doing well at all, even though I think Moldova is underrated. I think the beauty is almost at the same level as Ukraine. I have one client who's done very well there. He speaks Russian. I don't know how you get on without Russian. Obviously, it's hard to test that. Other clients who came in the last while, yeah, they all have abundance. All the guys who came to Moldova with me, so they all did well. So yeah, pretty much the same. And then Ukraine, it's probably not the time to go if you're only interested in the dating, so I'll probably skip on to my friends who are foreigners, who are single in Ukraine, but they live there and they speak, you know, at least decent Russian and Ukrainian. Yeah, they were very excited about the dating scene in Kyiv and Odessa. But yeah, they have reasons to do. They work there. In spite of everything with the Russo-Ukrainian war, they were living there before. So that's what I'll say. Anything else I should add? Yeah, basically the message is kind of simple, I guess, overall. Maybe in Kazakhstan it might be a little bit easier, but Kazakhstan's far away. And it's 85% Asian, 15% European. So if you're not into Asian chicks, then maybe not the spot for you. But yeah, there you're probably a little bit more of a foreigner factor than in the other countries I'm talking about, that I bring clients to, and I'm looking forward to going back again. Should be actually for a good bit towards the end of this year and early next year. But the basic, I guess, main thing to take out of this live stream, if you don't take anything else out, is that guys have abundance, can date, and will have more and better dating options here than typically in New York City or LA. But guys who have scarcity, who are really struggling, the feedback from what we can see, what I've observed in Warsaw in particular, let's start with Warsaw, that's kind of the most extreme, this is the most popular. I know why it attracts all these grifters and charlatans, but it seems to be a lot of them hanging out and pumping it up. Not that everybody pumps up necessarily a charlatan, but there's just a lot of internet marketers, and they focus a lot on Warsaw, so it kind of has this kind of glow around it, halo around it, but then people are a bit disappointed from what I can see when they actually spend time there. So save yourself the time. In Warsaw, if you're struggling back home, then what I've observed, I don't see typical blokes, as someone wrote under the last video live stream, I don't see them doing better, I think, than they probably do back home. And Josh says the same. And overall, the feedback from my clients, he thinks it's as hard as the States. Even though he actually had success. So it wasn't because he was bitter or something. The other places, I would say, probably a little bit easier than in Warsaw. In Warsaw, obviously, you also have the Belarusians and Ukrainians, and it's probably a bit easier with them, but that probably is starting to even out, because now we're a few years into the Russo-Ukraine, this phase of the Russo-Ukrainian war. So a lot of those Ukrainians and Belarusians who've been coming, well, the Belarusians normally becoming, because Belarus, the economy is kind of not the best, and also the political situation is not the best either. So they've already been in Poland for a few years, so not kind of already set up social circles. Maybe even, at this point, a lot of them are going to be dating either immigrants, or they're going to be dating locals at this point. So probably not like it was 2 or 3 years ago in that sense. But overall, the other places, maybe you will do even better than in Warsaw. I would say, I think it's probably less saturated in terms of foreign guys going and pursuing women. But again, if you're not doing well back home, I can't see how you're going to do better really here. I just don't observe it in the Baltics. But if you are a guy who's high value on the dating market, and you're like used to dating, say, 6, 7, 8s back home, then you could do better here. And I think if you're dating 7s and 8s back home, you can definitely aim to date the 9s and 10s in any of the 3 Baltic states, maybe even in Sweden as well. I need to go out there. I have a friend who lives there. Same in Moldova, and probably even in Ukraine. But you shouldn't be traveling to Ukraine just for that purpose, because there's a war. You should have other reasons to go there, I think. And same for Kazakhstan. Anyways, let me know what you think. If you're watching replay, leave your comments down below, and let me just look at your comments and see if there is anything that I can help you with. And again, application form for the in-person insiders are experienced down below. It will be an unforgettable week of your life, up to a week, although the current client is actually going to leave tomorrow, but he's super excited about hitting up the social scene tonight, because it was pretty phenomenal. He'd actually been here many years ago, and he didn't. I think we packed in more fun and hotties last night than he did on his previous trip in 2 weeks. So Ben says, beautiful background. Hey Ben, very much so. It's actually, quality of life here is great, but I won't get into that because we're dealing with dating in this topic, in this live stream. And I will probably make a video about real estate here in Latvia, because if you invest at least a minimum of 250,000 euros into real estate, then you can apply for residency. Interesting, obviously, for people who do not have a European Union passport or already have a Schengen residency. International health coach says, greetings, Connor. I always forget your name because you use these other pseudonyms, but hey, I recognize the avatar. Hello from Croatia. Hello from Riga in Latvia. So, Ukraine Discord, remember, if you build it, they will come. It's dead there. Delegates, with someone in the back of Ukraine. Yeah, thanks. That's about, if you invest in the guide for Ukraine, there's actually a Discord community. I will have a look at that and getting that more valuable this week. Is a Polish 4 and American 6? That is a very pertinent question, Ben. So I have a video on my channel. I never remember to go back and put the links down below after these live streams. So it's like probably a year and a half old. If you type in Connor Klein, where's our experience, and 9s and 10s. Actually, go and look at my playlist, 9s and 10s, and scroll to there, and you'll see about what is the beauty benchmark. So you may be making a fair point that, yeah, Polish 6, maybe definitely a Polish, yeah. What's an American 6 in Poland? Yeah, probably a 4 or 5 in Poland. So that could also be something to bear in mind, that definitely the average level of beauty is going to be higher overall in Poland than it's going to be in the States, and definitely here where we were hanging out last night, even though my client has access to the best and the most beautiful in the US. He was very impressed where we were hanging out yesterday. So definitely the level of beauty is higher. I should say that. This is the region, I think I said at the beginning. So that's a fair point. And if you've lived here like I have in this region for so long, yeah, you just acclimate to the beauty, and not really wooed by it or dazzled by it anymore. And maybe I'd be a bit shocked if I went back to the States and took a look around. International Health Coach, he's dated many Ukrainian women who came to the US by being active in the Atlanta, Georgia community on Facebook, attending events, fundraising, protests, etc. Ride a motorcycle, good man. Yeah, that's if you are in the States and you want to meet Ukrainians, support the country in some way and go to fundraisers and events, and you'll almost certainly be lots of Ukrainian women, as well as an added bonus. Many of the Ukrainian women he's dated have been more than 20 years younger, which has been part of my split testing for expat license against in 2025 with my business partner. One problem I have with Ukraine women have a scarcity. Okay. Yeah, feel free. I'm not sure if you've filled out the application form before. Just remind me of your first name. I've forgotten it. I know you've told me many times, but I'm another YouTuber claimed I was pushing 50. I think he said it 2 years ago, but maybe I'm starting to get. But what's the term that you're using about Trump now? Cognitive decline, I think, or is that only Biden they refer to that as? Do these women generally prefer older to the point that they would be tough dating as? Okay, let me deal about age gap. I currently have a 20-year age gap in my relationship. I'm 46, so with a Ukrainian, so it's obviously possible. I can't tell you it's not. And if you are a guy with abundance and you're say 45 or maybe 40, yeah, a 10 to 20 year age gap is very doable with a beautiful woman. I don't think that, but I don't think it's frowned upon. It's not actually the norm, in spite of what maybe some people think. Depends where you hang out. But I think there's maybe, when I say it's not the norm locally, that you see that big, it may be bigger age gaps than in the US, maybe slightly, but I'm even skeptical, but I'll have to check the stats on that. I don't think it's massive, the difference. The average age gap, it's probably not going to be more than a year more, or 2 years more on average. But there are definitely foreign guys who are high value who come to this region and they're say 45, they will say they're 40 to 55, 60, and they have 20-year age gaps without too much hassle. But they are guys who have abundance, so maybe that's a little bit easier than it is back in the US. Social circles matter both in person and online. Yes, very true. Learn to go well. That's one thing that I help my clients with as well. And we have this weirdo coming in again. Let me just let's see. Let's put that there. Can I? Why isn't that? And that's not working for some reason. Just trying to get that. Oh, I gotta pick. Let me get rid of that person. All right. Because they come to troll quite a lot. Let me just get rid of that as well. And they're advertising something weird as well. There's the new Europe lifestyle. Do you think Chisinau is safe for tourists? Yes. I don't think it's particularly dangerous. Although my Romanian teacher told me that she was at some event and actually it was a little bit dodgy, but I personally never experienced it. So maybe once in a while when there's something big on and people come from maybe from other places in Moldova, maybe there's a bit of a rougher element that comes. But in general, it's not dangerous in the center of the city. It used to be very dodgy 10 years ago. Like I made a video, maybe it's like a month old, where I said like New York is safer than old Europe or Western Europe, and definitely North America, and definitely Russia. If you look in the stats. But it was the opposite 20 years ago. It was dodgy here and a lot safer, relatively safer in Western Europe. And it's not everywhere in Western Europe that's dodgy or dangerous, but crime is actually lower here, petty crime for sure, in the center of cities in this region. It's going to be in Paris or London or somewhere like that. And I would say even 10 years ago it was the opposite. Get rid of this. What would be the ranking of women beauty of the countries in the title, where Russia and Belarus fit in that ranking? Let me take the ones in the title are, let's see, the three Baltic states have the highest per capita number of models in the world. So that very, very, and that, when I talk about 9 to 10 and beauty, I'm not talking about maybe what a lot of guys who go to Colombia are looking for, or maybe they go to Africa or to Asia. I'm looking at catwalk models who are European, clearly, because most people are going to have a European look. Not everybody, but most people here. And that kind of model beauty you find the most in the Baltics, that very, very extreme level of beauty per capita. But the populations are small here, so Ukraine is going to rival it just because it's got a bigger population. You're probably hanging out in spots where, the most beautiful go to. Then you're also going to have the same level of beauty. And I think there's just a lot, maybe below that 9 and 10 level. I think there's way more of that per capita. That's just an observation and an opinion of mine in Ukraine than you're going to have here. So that kind of thin, model, tall, long legs kind of look, this is what you find in the Baltics more than per capita than, say, in Ukraine. But Ukraine, maybe overall the beauty is maybe a bit more distributed. In that upper echelons a little bit more so, and Moldova is not that far behind, so I would say maybe after that Moldova, after that Poland overall, because they have Ukrainians and Belarusians a lot, and it's hard for me to comment on Russia and Belarus. I do know someone who went recently, and he told me it's he had a bit of foreigner factor, but then he doesn't speak Russian, so he said really hard, and he said most girls who were there, because the girls who speak English or motivated to meet foreigners, most of them left and they emigrated, who were young and single. They left and went to Lithuania or to Poland, normally after university. And that means the girls who were there, they're kind of less likely to speak English and less likely to be into foreigners. So I'm not really sure what the beauty level that's left is like there. But Belarusians, if you want to meet a beautiful Belarusian, then Vilnius, Lithuania, and Warsaw, Poland, two good spots for that, even though I've said that it's not so easy in Warsaw, but you definitely have them. And you said Russia. Well, I can only talk about my previous experiences. I haven't been to Russia for 5 years. And the top echelons in Moscow and St. Petersburg, of course, there's lots of beautiful women. Do I think it's more in Ukraine? Overall, probably not. Maybe even a little bit less. But I don't recommend going there at all to either of them at the moment for different reasons. So Sean, okay, aka Jack, okay, well, that's maybe why I keep forgetting, because he used two names. Sean, right? He does biohacking. Most people, I guess, some age or 35, 45, take exceptional care of himself. Good man. He's got abundance. He lives in wealthy university summers and dates college girls. Sounds perfect. I don't know if you've filled out the application form before. I know we've communicated. Just remind me if you are interested in that, because you may be a good candidate. You see, he's already got abundance, so this is the kind of guy I want to work with, help him do even better and save him a lot of time. So Dan asks, I know who Dan really is, but I won't say, since I'll keep his anonymity. What do you think of, he asked me, what do I think about moving to a top tier European city for the better lifestyle and targeting the hot Slavic immigrants? A lot of Slovakian women live in Vienna, for example. Yes, a lot of them do live in Vienna, because Vienna is not far from Bratislava. And back in the day, when I say back in the day, like maybe a decade ago, like Vienna was really a magnet for even Ukrainians and Russians to go to. Nowadays, it's probably harder for Russians to go there, Russian girls, and move to Vienna than it used to be. And Ukrainians are, they seem to be heading more to Poland or to further west even than Austria. They're kind of distributed all over the place. In Ireland, we have a huge number still of Ukrainians, so that could also be a spot. I know if you consider Dublin a top-tier European city, some background because Dan and I, we know each other quite well, and he's commented on in the previous live streams. He does not want to learn local language. He does not want to hang out with really the local people. He wants to hang out in a, well, I guess most people call an expat bubble. So, you know, kind of leading specialist in his field kind of bubble and ignore the local people. And yeah, that's why he's talking about a top tier European city, so somewhere like Vienna, or you were mentioning Berlin and London in the past on live streams. And then just date other immigrants there who may be particularly attractive. You know, I can speak to that a little bit because I did live in Brussels in Belgium, and that is that kind of city because people come from everywhere. It's the, you know, has a lot of the European Union institutions. I actually worked there back in the day. I should have said that if you're new to the channel. I used to work as a top lawyer in my field back in the day in Brussels in particular. I was there for quite a number of years, also at the EU institutions. And yeah, I mean, did I meet other women who were from other places because I hung out in that bubble? Yep, I did have a little bit of dating with Belgians, but in general I dated other foreigners, other immigrants there. If you want to say you're an immigrant, if you work at the EU institutions, you're probably, that's really what that's really the expat. Not what most people call themselves today as expats. Where I was expatriated to obviously work there. So you can do that, but you need to be playing, you know, a role within that social hierarchy. You know, I was in EU institutions, so, you know, it's, I obviously had, as, you know, and first I worked at a law firm, the best law firm for my field. So that then within that kind of bubble would give me a certain amount of social status with certain girls. But I think if you don't have that at all, you're just hitting up, I don't know, Vienna for the weekend. Yeah, I'm not really sure how you're going to get on there. I do well in London personally, even if I go for a short period and hang out with my friends who are all pretty accomplished, and we're hanging out in some nice spot either in Mayfair or Notting Hill. One of my friends lives in as well, so I hang out there a bit. Also a little bit back in the day, but I do very well there, so I can't complain about it. And do I think that you can meet Ukrainian or Slovak women who are beautiful in Vienna? Yeah. Is it going to be easier than meeting them here? I would be surprised if it's going to be easier than meeting them here. But this is someone, bear in mind, who does not want to learn the local language, doesn't want to integrate into society. He wants to be an immigrant who hangs out in a clique, detached from the local people in general. So, you know, that's not, we already discussed this is not really the region for you because you're not interested in the local people or the culture so much. Maybe the prices and the beautiful women is interesting, presumably, but yeah, you might, I mean, I already advised you, I think you should focus on Western Europe because you seem to like European culture over the US, but you're not really interested in this region. So, and as you're aware, it's not like shooting fish in a barrel no matter what other YouTubers or other people try to claim. So, yeah, it is, of course, possible. I met, let me think, I met lots of beautiful women. Actually, in Vienna, I remember the last time I partied there, I met a very hot Brazilian model, so, who I had a little fling with very briefly. So, yeah, I can help him, 100%. But I think if you're going to move there, then you got to think about what role you're going to play within that expat clique that you're going to hang out with. Lotus Popus says, but it's not hard to pull Slavic women. He says, they dominate the dating apps. I don't get even excited. Whoop, I almost dropped the camera here. My phone. I don't even get excited anymore watching again. I don't know. That's just a weird comment. I don't normally recommend dating apps. The data from that I discussed on one of my videos last year was that you date about 2 points down if you're a guy on average. Actually, everybody, basically, I think it was also the same for women. That you can go check the video. It's like from last summer. No, the summer before last. So summer 2023, I shot it in Chisinau. Than you do in real life. But of course, you know, dating life is convenient. If you're in for just a short period of time in a city and you can't set up your social circle and go out and socialize, then yeah, you can have a little bit there. But when I come with clients who have abundance, who do well in dating apps, they meet better options in real life when we go out and socialize. So I just don't promote it. I don't talk about dating apps very much anymore. And I think they may now, with AI getting better and a lot of bots and you know, the best looking women are very rarely going to be on a dating app. because they're trying to screen through all the other the invitations they already have from high value guys. So yeah, if you're going for 9s and 10s, it's pretty hard in a dating app. So I'm not really sure that comment was odd in general. John says the big thing in his opinion is to succeed in Ukraine is to bring value. 100% uses language, health, successful, and you have some personality. Yep, be in shape. Provide value to local community, especially this time of the Russo-Ukrainian war. Men are more judged than women in the dating scene for the value they provide rather than their looks. I mean, looks are obviously a factor, but they're not as important. We, as men, on average, not every man, and we don't only look at looks, but it is the thing that especially gets our initial attraction. It's hardwired isn't it biologically, evolutionary biology, whilst women, they also look at things like social status, your resources, and also your looks, but it's a bit less of a priority, and especially in this region, I would say. But the local guys, they've upped their game a lot in the last decade, so don't think that everyone's an obese slob here or something with no money and they're all beating their partners at home. This kind of stereotype. It's actually still probably a more valid stereotype if you go to a small town, maybe, or a village or somewhere, or you go to Russia, but yeah, it's really not the case here amongst the younger generation. Why do you care? Can we get a top 3 or 4 countries now in your prediction? What will be the top 3 or 4 in 5 years-ish? That's a good question. So what do I think is going to be the trend? Well, I think, let's see, the big question is what happens geopolitically with the Russo-Ukrainian war. If Ukrainians come back, what happens with Russia and Belarus, hopefully Ukraine will win in 2025 or 2026 or 2027, but that's all to be seen. Obviously, the U.S. presidential elections will play a role in that. So we just have to see who gets elected. It looks neck and neck. I'm not even looking at the polls anymore. It just seems like it's kind of like a toss-up. We have no idea. It's going to be a big surprise unless something dramatic happens in the next few weeks. In terms of, like, the thing is in this region, people under 40 are in general in a lot better shape in the sense that there's less obesity and less overweightness. People eat healthier. That might change. And that is hard to say where, because in Ukraine, for example, I think definitely the younger generation drinks less alcohol and is more into fitness. But at the same time, you do see more fast food than before, and a little bit more girls who are a little bit overweight. It's still pretty rare to see people who are obese and young in Ukraine, but it is changing. So maybe at the top end, they're going to be even more beautiful. I think that's kind of what I've seen in this region. I think at the very top end, I think you see more beautiful women because they got better access to information about style and grooming and taking care of themselves and fitness. Instagram has become a big thing, so they want to look, I think, even better. I think that they see the competition more online than they did just locally looking around in the past. They kind of compare themselves almost globally. And this is pluses and minuses if you're a guy here, but definitely I think at the very top end, I'd say that it looks to me like women are top end are even more beautiful, but then maybe you do have a little bit more overweightness. So what countries in 5 years? Well, because of geopolitics, it's just hard to say. I think at least half the Ukrainians will probably come back post-victory. Will there be different immigration streams into the region in the future? Almost certainly, because Poland, for example, their economy is booming, and they're going to want to bring workers from different places. So, that will change the complexion a little bit of the look probably over time. So I'm not sure will that affect the beauty now. That's kind of hard to say. Like if you go to Sweden, where they have different immigration traditionally, say in the last 100 years than say Estonia and here, the look is very different, right? You just have a lot of people who've come from, say, Africa or the Middle East or from other parts of the world, Asia, to Sweden and Finland than here. So, but there was also super hot girls who have those ethnicities, so I can't say is that, and Swedes in general are good looking. That's hard to say. Anyways, I'm waffling a little bit. It's hard for me to say. I mean, do I think that the beauty level will go down here? I think that it's the region with the most models per capita, and I think that probably won't change too much unless there's an obesity issue that suddenly seeps in here. But I'm not sure. I don't really see it. But maybe, at Ireland when I was young, there was very little overweightness, and now it's definitely a significant health issue. So Perhaps this will happen, unfortunately, here. I think with the way agriculture works in Ukraine and just so much great produce, I would be surprised if it happens. But, you know, I think that's probably going to be the biggest determining factor. There will be two things. One will be if, you know, there's just different immigration patterns in the future, and will that make people better or less good looking on average? You know, you know, a lot of times people who are more mixed are like my own girlfriend, model, who's mixed race, Asian and European. So it can make for more unique kind of looks, and maybe at the top end, the 9s and 10s, there will be even more of them with different immigration, also possible, but unclear at this point. So I would say, I still think this region in 5 years will still be the best region. And maybe geopolitically, something will change for the better, you know, with the Russo-Ukrainian war and with Belarus and stuff. So in particular, I'm not sure how things are going to work out for Russia. All right, let me take final questions because I also want to, I have dinner with my client pretty soon. Yeah, assuming how does the war end? Does Russia stay together as a country? Do we have people fleeing all out of Russia to other places because they're in a civil war if it collapses, or does it become a totalitarian state? You know, they're banning all YouTube. I don't think is quite banned yet in Russia, but they banned Discord now. They've banned Telegram, and Twitter is always banned in spite of Elon Musk, you know, simping for Russia all the time, it seems. Yeah, that's banned there. So I'm not sure if VPN still work. I'm not sure really what's the scene is, but yeah, it's also, there's just, we can't really say what's going to happen geopolitically in the next year or two. We can only make guesses, but Russia should run out of money, material, and voluntary soldiers sometime next year, unless well, now they're apparently training North Koreans, so yeah, they have the capacity to drag it on. Anyways, getting a little bit off topic for the dating. Sean says, come to see you in 2025 when he's visiting your business partner and I am living the normal couple of sex but lifestyle. We have a movie production company. Awesome. Another interrelated business. Super. Okay, well, shoot me a message and we can discuss it more. Sean, just remind me if you've filled out the application form or not. Maybe shoot me a short message. That would be much appreciated. I can go back and look at it. But obviously, in what you write, you're a good potential candidate for the in-person experience. Dan, any questions? You wrote me before this live stream that you were going to ask a lot, but only one question so far. And it's funny the way you phrase things in the questions and how you phrase them in the messages. I'll give it 2 minutes max. So final questions, because I want to, what time is it here? It's almost 6. I was kind of thinking of hitting the gym, getting some cardio in before partying, even if I'm a little bit tired. All right, I'll give it 15 seconds. Final questions. Application form down below in the description. Consulting call, save you so much time. If you're a high value guy, you don't want to be wasting weeks, months trying to do it all yourself. I mean, you can do that. A lot of guys want to do it themselves. They get this free content on YouTube and they get some value out of it. That's great. If you want to implement it quicker and better, get better results faster, then it makes sense to invest a little bit of money into that, and we can jump on a consulting call, or we can, obviously, if you fill out the application form, we can discuss potentially implementing it together on an unforgettable week in a city in this region. So I will leave you, and not sure if I'll do a live stream next week or not. And I'm gonna go out with a client, enjoy an absolutely phenomenal Saturday night in Riga. And Dan comes in with a final question: why are so many Western dating coaches based in Warsaw now? I think that a lot of them were probably hanging out in Ukraine before. They don't like the war much in terms of their personal safety, which is fair enough. And they just went to Warsaw because it was a big city. A lot of Ukrainians went there. And I think it was talked up a lot in conservative circles, especially with the previous Polish government, that it was some bastion of, I don't know, anti-wokeism. But, you know, they're not really just talking about it being anti-woke. They kind of painted it as like a uber, I don't know how to say, they kind of embellish a little bit about that it's maybe more conservative than it really is. And yeah, they focus on the immigration. And then ironically, all these guys who are against immigration, they immigrate to Poland. But there you go. Also the loophole for the Americans, because you can stay in Poland 90 days visa-free every time you enter and exit. It's going to become trickier in November. With that, you won't be able to wander around Schengen as freely anymore. You're probably going to get caught in the future if you're spending more than 90 days in 180 within Schengen. It's kind of a loophole. I don't actually think that it's kind of a gray zone legally. I would actually argue that it's not legal, and that's why you're going to get in trouble if you're caught when the other country's been more than 90 days and 180 visa-free. But Poland basically is an agreement in the 90s. If you say go to Ukraine on the 90th day and then you come back again, you get another 90 days. And the Poles basically allow you to do that. But if you then go to Germany, which has been the Schengen area, which is the common travel area, and you get stopped, which seems to be happening a lot more frequently, then you're going to get in trouble. And it's probably going to be a lot more severe. That's the information I have after November. It's going to be probably deportation and a significant ban and a significant fine going forward. So they've been pretty lax about it in many countries up until now. 2BTV, we have some flip sources. Okay, we can support Christina. Next Wednesday. Okay, cool. All right, bye-bye. That's maybe write a comment underneath the video, or let me know, Dan, why you think there's so many dating coaches in Warsaw. I think they've all decided to hang out there together, and yeah, it's also a little bit of a mystery to me. But I guess there's some of the reasons, some of the plausible reasons. Anyways, ciao ciao, and catch you all soon.